Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Pink Mike Leo Confessions. I'm Stephanie Garces, and we are talking today about a really important topic that you may want to tune in for. Why do kids need an assigned legal guardian? Now, this topic is very near and dear to my heart because there's a lot of people that have young children. A lot of my friends are having children, where this really is an important topic that I think a lot of people do not talk about enough. And quite frankly, it might be because they just need a little bit of help in trying to figure out what to do next. So, one of the things we're going to be touching on today is talking about legal guardians. Why do we care about this topic? Why is it important? Well, parents should never really want to maybe talk about this, but it's certainly something that parents should consider. And the reason is because parents never want to think about something happening to themselves, to their spouse. These are really sensitive topics. Of course, nobody wants to just dive in and start talking about it. So, if something ever unexpected happens, the kids, what happens to them? Who raises them? This is kind of the traumatic situation that a lot of people come across in their lives. And quite frankly, it's always something you can prepare for, assuming that you've given this thought. So, one of the things I want to discuss about is legal guardianship, how we can help you with that. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking a lot about families and all of this, but this is specifically for why parents should designate a guardian, just as a matter of fact, and why it's important. Why do people care about this? So, like I mentioned, unfortunately, unexpected things happen. This is something that I don't have to tell you guys, but we're going to be talking about a couple of things today. What is a legal guardian? What is the step for putting one in place, especially in place of a parent that is no longer here? When I say legal guardian, I really am talking about children, people that are under 18, and that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on today. What rights does a guardian have that would be kind of serving to the child? And how does the court address this? How do they actually handle this if case someone parents pass away and there is no estate plan in place? How is that figured out? A lot of questions about that, and actually there's a whole process and legal guardianship process. We won't touch too much about it today, but there is a formal process that children go to in case they have to see a guardian, or they have to have a guardian depending on their age. The other thing we'll talk about is when a guardianship is temporary, how do parents gain legal control? And what to consider when choosing a legal guardian for your child. So, like I said, we welcome you to join us here on Tuesdays to talk about Pink Mike Legal Confessions. A lot of the stuff we talk about is stuff that's important to you guys. And quite frankly, again, they're topics that are tough, but very necessary to talk about. So, some of the questions that we get through the process and actually through guardianship and really just estate planning in general, people always ask me, can you designate more than one legal guardian for your children? Typically, you can, but is it best in practice? Now, you have to keep in mind that when you're talking about legal guardians, and these are really big roles, they're really big shoes to fill. So, depending on the situation and depending on, the family dynamic, you can certainly appoint more than one person. You can also do it so, like in an order. So, for example, I always tell clients if you have like a first person or a second person in line that you rather pick, that's a great thing to do too, because you can actually put the first guardian in place. And then if something happens to that guardian, or perhaps maybe they aren't able to fulfill their role, you can always put somebody else. So that's just something to think about. Again, these are all things that I discuss in the abstract. So feel free to give us a call if any of this is kind of confusing. But just as like I said, as a matter of practicality, can you put more than one? You can. Sometimes you can also put, for example, if you want to pick your aunts, let's say your aunt's going to be the main person. Well, the good thing about that is, you have your aunt. You've picked her. She's the person that you've decided is the best candidate for this position. But let's say that you have an uncle as well. Maybe your uncle is your second choice. You can also put it in your documents. So, like, if one person cannot do it, the other person can. So that's something to consider as well, because people want to know that they have options in that regard. So yes, you do have an option. It's everything is customizable. So it's not a one size fits all. So if you say to me, hey, I really, really want to do it this way, we still cater to what the client wants. So we will do it in the best of our ability. Um, Someone asked, what if my ex-spouse wants a different guardian for our children? This comes up a lot, actually. People will always have a ex, or perhaps, some people are just not together with their significant other. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't not have anything in place. It doesn't mean that you have to um, not consider putting an estate plan together. I actually think those are really interesting topics, because really what it comes down to is, do you have something in place? And of course, if someone is an ex-spouse and they are the biological parent of the children, they absolutely would have rights, unless there is another reason. Again, everyone is a little bit different, but if there's been some sort of arrangement with the custody of the children, that might impact who has more rights than others. But let's just talk in the abstract. If the parents have a child that they split together, yes, you certainly can put your version of how you would want your children to be raised, and your version of a will, so that in the event your ex-spouse passes before you and then you pass after them, well, at that point, your estate plan would sort of take over. And I always say, too, even if you aren't with your significant other, you can certainly have them consider getting an estate plan. I know we talk a lot about doing it for yourselves and doing all of this, but in reality, this sort of thing is actually for the children. So it's always a good idea, if possible, to put together an estate plan for you and for your ex-spouse, really just in the interest of the children, making sure you have both chosen your own guardians that you would want. If they happen to be the same person, that's even better, but doesn't necessarily have to be. So there is a way to do it. You just have to make sure that you sort of put it in place, because if you don't put this stuff in place, you guys, you really don't have any legs to stand on. So make sure you're protecting your children. Even if you have an ex-spouse, it's still a good way to pick a guardian. The other question I get every so often about this sort of topic is, do young adult children need legal guardians if we support them financially? Well, it depends on how that question is viewed. I mean, a lot of times when we're talking about young adults are, adults as of 18. So there's no reason to have a legal guardian for someone that is already an adult, unless this person has a reason they need a guardian. So if someone maybe has had special needs, or has special needs that would require them to have a guardian over them because they can't make decisions on their own behalf. That sort of is a whole other category and different direction that you would go in. So it's possible, but the circumstances are very specific in why a young adult would need a legal guardian. But yes, plenty of people have their adult children living with them in their basement, and whatever. They just financially support them. They don't necessarily need a guardian, especially if they're healthy. They don't have any specific needs. Not necessarily, but again, if your situation is a little bit different, we may need to actually say yes to that question. So it just depends on the situation. One other question that we get from the audience members that's really interesting is, how much does it cost to actually have a benefit of having this will in place so that my children have a legal guardian? That is a really great question. When we talk about costs and how that's designated for legal guardians, really, when we're talking about estate planning, a will put in place the legal guardian for your children. So when we talk about the fees, we're really talking about not much, because basic will, depending on who you go to, can range anywhere from 400 to 500, maybe 600, depending on who you go to. Again, different prices vary, but for us, we do offer flexible pricing, and it's pretty straightforward. So I would say that's minimal investment for a long-term protection. And that is really the proper way to actually appoint the guardian, because you can't do it, when you're no longer conscious, or someone is basically maybe no longer here. You can't really do it in that sense. You have to do it while you're living. I know that seems obvious, but it's important to say that because every so often we get that question. So it's always good to talk about that. Some other questions that we get that I think are relevant to some of the stuff we're discussing today is, do the documents need to be signed or notarized in person to be legal? And this is a wonderful question because we get this often. A lot of times people will say, well, I got something online. Well, I got it something from, I don't know, off the web, because you can really get a lot of the stuff, at least forms, template forms off the web. But those are not necessarily the ones that would be valid, that would be recognized. And so really they're meaningless. They may not have the value that you're looking for if they're not done properly. So yes, the short answer is you do have to get some documents notarized, especially when we're talking about legal guardians and we're talking about putting the proper estate plan to assign those guardians. These documents have to be notarized. There has to be witnesses. Otherwise, it really isn't seen as valid. And that could be a problem because if something ever happened to you or your family or your spouse unexpectedly or both at the same time, these documents would not uphold. And so it would be as if the children didn't have a guardian because the documents are not recognized. They're not valid. So yes, there are a lot of nuances and a lot of requirements to make sure these documents are properly drafted, which is why I always advocate coming to see an attorney, make an appointment with us so that we can provide free consultations. They're 30 minutes, they're free, so we can actually just assess what is it that you're looking for. Here's the cost, and that way you have peace of mind, because that's really what it's about. When you think about all these documents and this type of law that we talk about a lot of this is peace of mind. And when the time comes, if and when there is an unexpected absence or there is a death in the family, these documents actually do what they're supposed to do. So that's really the benefit of having some of this stuff. Sometimes people will ask me to, virtual or on-site appointments. What do we offer? I always offer both. We offer in person if you're comfortable coming into the office. Of course, you have to wear a mask because we do actually require that. But definitely can do the virtual appointments. We've been doing so many virtual appointments. I actually think more people prefer virtual than in person. And I think the reason is because a lot of people know that it's really convenient. You can just hop out of bed and we provide the links. We provide everything that you need. You just show up in the safety of your own home. So that's just something to keep in mind because every so often people are looking for that. I actually think it's here to stay. I think actually virtual consultations people love because there's so much flexibility. There's just so much you can do. Kind of off topic too, and kind of going off the virtual, some people will ask about like virtual signings and whatnot. So there are rules around that, and we can certainly try to address that and try to see if that's an option. But just keep in mind that there are many options when it comes to estate planning and when it comes to consultation to the actual signing itself. So you should not be deterred if you can't leave your home for whatever reason to not sign up for a free consultation so that we can actually help you with everything. And other things I wanted to talk about too, when it comes to legal guardians, you really want to think about the how and the why. When we think about how do we pick a legal guardian, one of the topics that we discuss a lot here is, making sure you pick someone that you trust. Maybe somebody that would even perhaps raise your children in the way that you want them to be raised. And when I say raising them, to all the parents out there, I really mean everything. Like, what school would they go to? What religion would they be brought up on? Or maybe non-religion? What are the things that they would be pursuing? And what are the things that the person believes that you would be, picking the legal guardian for? Where are they located? Is it somewhere where you would see your child growing up or not? Every so often people will ask too, can I have the guardian that's out of the country? You could certainly pick someone out of the country, but from a matter of practicality, I'm not sure that's the best option. But nonetheless, it's definitely doable. I'm not sure it's the best option for someone that may need an immediate guardian in case, you were to pass away in your particular state. But it's doable. It just may not be the best idea. But depending on your situation, it might make sense. So, like I said, when we talk about estate planning, everything is customizable, everything is made to you, it's catered. And that's really the difference. When we talk about what do you find on the web, we can DIY, do it yourself as opposed to what an attorney can do. Well, we really look at the whole picture. I don't just create the estate plan and send you on your way. We actually look at the family history. We look at the goals. We look at your finances. We look at your insurance. Do you have life insurance? Do you not? We look at your real estate. How much pieces of real estate do you have? What retirement accounts do you have? So all of this is always talked about during our consultations, and this is the type of thing that online and the things that we compete with that our robots do not offer. So I just urge people, if you need the assistance, even if you are curious about some of the stuff we talk about, book a consultation. It's free. So there's nothing really to lose other than 30 minutes of your time. So in my experience, I think you can get really far if you really just prepare for the unexpected, which is part of my job. So, like I was saying before, if you're just joining us now, my name is attorney Stephanie Garces. I'm the owner of Garces Law Firm, where we help parents prepare for the unexpected and in the event of an unexpected absence. So, to keep in mind what we were discussing today, and you can always play this back at the end if you're coming now at the very last second here. But we were talking about legal guardians, why children need to have designated guardians, and really why is it important and how do you do it. So we kind of touched on those topics today. You can always feel free to check in and really watch this back and share it with your loved ones to make sure that they're really fully informed. And by the way, just because you may not even have children and this is not applicable to you, you can certainly still put together a will to make sure that your estate is taken care of in the event something happens to you. And I say that because not everybody has children. That doesn't necessarily discount you from having an estate plan or even needing one. They always create value no matter your situation, no matter how big or how small your assets are. So I want to thank you all for watching, as always watching Pink Mike Legal Confessions and some of the stuff we discuss, and always really gracious for all the opportunities we have to serve you. So if you have any questions, feel free to email or call at any point, and we are happy to address any questions you may have in English or in Spanish because we are fully bilingual. So we'll see you here next week, and thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful holiday.